Today, we're gonna dive into my high five-figure portfolio. So you can see here that I have about meet up with a friend.
You're making more than $5 a day now, right?
I get slapped in the face and show you how I model my finances for early retirement. Enjoy. One day last year, I was chatting with some former coworkers from my previous job. We were getting some fresh air outside and having a coffee break.
Man, I can't wait to retire.
You're gonna have to wait. That's gonna be like 20 years away at least. Well, not necessarily. Freedom 35 sounds pretty good to me. Suffice to say that my coworkers thought the idea of retiring at 35 to be so ridiculous that it was funny. Don't get me wrong, the idea of retiring at 35, or early in general for that matter, may seem a little bit crazy to you too. Most of us expect that we follow a trajectory in life where we get a job that we may or may not particularly enjoy, perhaps get married, buy a house, raise a family, and work said job for 30 plus years until we can finally enjoy our so-called golden years. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all if that's what makes you happy. I mean, that's what's most important, right? Being happy. But I made this video to share my personal perspective because I know that that type of life wasn't necessarily going to make me happy, and I think that this might resonate with a lot of you as well. In addition to that, achieving financial freedom earlier in life, regardless of whether you actually want to retire or not, can ultimately enrich and unlock opportunities in any life that you want to lead. So my hope is that by sharing the details of my journey, my story, my perspective, you'll learn something new today, financially or otherwise, that you can then take and apply to your own life. And yes, I do seriously intend to retire by 35, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'll stop contributing to society in a productive way. And I'll explain more about what I mean by that later on in this video. Okay, so let's talk about where I'm at right now today, and then later on I can show you how I've kind of projected my finances into the future. So I've got my iPad rigged up here as kind of like a second camera, just so I can show you as I'm showing you my finances that there's no tomfoolery going on here and I'm not pulling anybody's leg when I actually show you the numbers. So the very first division of my money I want to show you guys is with Wealthsimple. So you can see here that I have about $35,000 invested with Wealthsimple, and this is with Wealthsimple Invest. And the reason I have this money in this particular platform is because it's fully automated, it's fully hands-off, I don't have to pay it any mind, and this is money that I'm investing for the extreme long term, pretty much until the day I die. And one of the really valuable things that I've learned as I've been building up this YouTube channel and this business is that the more pressure I can take off of myself and kind of automate things so I don't have to pay it any mind, the better. So the next division of my finances I would like to show you guys is with EQ Bank. Now with EQ Bank, I have about $30,000 with them. Now EQ Bank is a high interest savings account. Now you might be wondering, Steve, why do you have so much of your money in just a high interest savings account? Shouldn't you be investing that in something like the stock market instead? Well, the reason I have all of this money in a high interest savings account is because I need this to be in a very safe place. And that's because once I quit my job to do this full time, I needed a large amount of money that should I need to draw on, I can very easily, and it's not going to be exposed to risk. I don't want this money exposed to risks in the stock market. So I decided to put it into a high interest savings account where it'll be safe, easily accessible, and it'll still earn me a solid return on my money. And you can also see I've named this account FU Money, which is, kind of fun that EQ Bank lets you name your accounts like that. But the reason that I named it this is because it allows me to have that financial stability knowing I have this money easily accessible that I can withdraw from at any time. And then lastly, I have about $20,000 or so spread across a few different banking and investment accounts for different purposes. So for example, I do also do my own self-directed investing. And right now, the particular platform that I'm doing that on is Wealthsimple Trade. And I was a little bit skeptical about using Wealthsimple Trade at first because I'm generally somebody who likes to use a desktop trading platform with a bit more features. But once I tried out Wealthsimple Trade and saw how easy it was to use, how easy it was to sign up, and also that commissions are free. I mean, it's beautifully designed. It's super simple to do exactly what I need to do. I don't really need anything fancy, and zero commissions has made my trading super simple. If you'd like to see how easy Wealthsimple Trade is for yourself, you can actually check out the link in the description down below. And when you sign up and deposit $100, you'll actually get $10 added to your account. So that's an immediate 10% return on your money. So if you'd like to invest in a really simple way with zero commissions, give it a shot. And then for my neighbors south of the border in America, a very similar app to Wealthsimple Trade is actually Webull. And Webull basically does the exact same thing. It's a super simple, easy to use, free stock trading app that allows you to place trades commission free, which just gives the people so much more power because those fees aren't eating into your investment returns. So if you'd also like to make trades for free, you can check out the link for Webull down in the description down below. And actually, when you sign up right now, it's a limited time thing. You'll get 2 free stocks added to your account when you deposit $100, which is pretty cool. So that's basically how I've kind of divided up my finances right now. Now, before I go ahead and project them into the future so you can see how that relates to early retirement, I actually want to go meet up with a friend to talk with them about financial freedom. Everybody say hi to my friend, Maddie. Now, me and Maddie have become pretty good friends ever since I started this whole YouTube thing, which has been great because Maddie himself, he dabbles in YouTube a little bit. I think you're about to hit, what is it, 1 million subscribers or so?
Close to 1 mil. I think in a couple of months I'll probably have, sounds crazy, 1 million subscribers.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. Today we were actually talking a little bit about financial freedom and stuff like that, and I was asking Maddie, you know, am I gonna be okay quitting my job to do YouTube full time?
Normally I would advise against going full-time YouTube, making $5 a day. That's probably not a good idea. But honestly, I always say, like, being an entrepreneur or having your own business, if you're strategic with it and you maximize your revenue streams, it's so much safer than just relying on one job for your income, because that can be taken away and then you have nothing. Whereas like I probably have like 8 different like forms, like ways of getting income. One of those dries up or I lose one of those, I still got 7 more. Like, I'm fine. Nobody can take it all away from me at once. So I think you're gonna be okay. You're making more than $5 a day now, right?
I am making more than $5 a day now, so I think I might be okay too.
You'll be okay. Just maximize your revenue streams. That's all you gotta do. Maximize.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna be okay. All right, so now let's talk about how I model my finances out into the future to actually simulate an early retirement situation. But before I do that, I just want to point out that at any point, if you're watching this and you look at it and you say, hey, this is really cool, I want to learn more about this stuff and actually see if I can do something similar in my own life. Well, I have a course that teaches you exactly how to achieve this in your own life. And I spent countless hours over the past few months working on it, and I'm so proud of it, and I really think that it can help a lot of you guys out. So you know what? Let's play the trailer for it right now, because I think it's pretty fun. I think you'll like it. Today is a very special day for me. After 65 years on this earth, I'm finally retired. Hi, I'm Steve Antonioni, the creator of Cash College. The average retirement age in North America is about 60 years old. And our friend who was here just a moment ago took until the age of 65 to retire. Does Freedom 65 sound good to you? I didn't think so. Now, how about Freedom 35? That sounds a lot better. But how would that even be possible? There's a movement sweeping the world called FIRE. FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, and it's a movement that has started because people have started standing up for themselves and demanding freedom from the traditional 30-year 9-to-5 grind. And in this course, I will teach you the fundamentals of how to achieve financial freedom earlier in life than traditionally thought possible. This will include reshaping your relationship with money, avoiding mistakes like bad debt, and harnessing the power of compound interest through investing in the stock market. Ultimately, I want you to get to a point where you no longer have to rely on an income source outside of yourself. You'll be able to live off of the interest of your investments alone, which means that you'll never have to work another day in your life if you don't want to. This is financial independence. So if that sounds cool to you, check out the link in the description down below for that course. Now, let's take a look at what's on my screen here. So basically what I have 10 different scenarios mapped out. And these scenarios describe the relationship between my age, my savings rate, and my investments. So the general idea here is that as I progress each year, I'll save money, and then those savings will become my investments. And down at the bottom, you'll notice I have a line for savings increase, investment return, and the 4% rule. The savings increase basically just describes how much my savings are projected to increase each year in that particular scenario. The investment return tells me how much money I'm going to earn on my investments every single year. And the 4% rule gives me a rough idea of how much money my investments will provide me to live off of by the time I'm 35. So in all these different scenarios, the numbers are different. And that's because I changed the savings increase and the investment return for each of the different scenarios. And the reason I wanted to do that is because it's really hard to predict how things are going to continue into the future. So I wanted to give myself a range of scenarios. And then once that was all mapped out, I went ahead and turned all that data into a chart so that I could visualize the information. And basically that's what you see here. All these lines project all the different scenarios that I've kind of modeled out here. And you might notice two patterns. So you'll notice there's a very low line, a very high line, and then there's kind of a tighter band of distributions in the middle. So the very low line is kind of like the worst case scenario. The high line is like the best case scenario. And then all the ones in the middle are probably the more likely outcomes from bad to worst. And the reason there's a change in these distributions is because I started with an investment return at the low end of 4% and then modeled it out to the high end of 10%. And 10% is pretty unlikely. 4% is also pretty unlikely if I'm invested in 100% stocks, but we can't predict the future, so I wanted to include those in the simulation. And then I also modeled out different savings increases as well. And this is what I get. So basically, it looks like the most likely scenario here is that by the time I'm 35, based on how things are currently going anyway, is that I'll have somewhere between $600,000 to about $900,000 by the time I'm 35, which should provide me somewhere between $30,000 to just under $40,000 per year to live off of. So there's two big things that may stick out in my financial modeling for my future. And the first big thing is that my income has now become much less stable and much less predictable. When I had a stable job, it was really easy to model out my future finances because I knew what I could reasonably expect to earn each month. Now, not so much. But the twist is that now I have a much higher income potential than I did at my previous job, and that's because I believe that I'm able to provide much more value than I was at my previous job. So while my month to month may be uncertain right now, I'm confident that I can succeed long term. The second thing that may stick out is my low expenses. You may be wondering, do you really intend to live on about $40,000 by the time you're 35? And my answer right now is yeah. But what about kids? What about a home? What about this? What about that? The fact of the matter is there's no way for me to know for sure what's going to be important to me by the time I'm 35. I'm 26 right now, and the thought of raising kids doesn't seem like the most appealing thing in the world necessarily. Don't tell Justine.
Hey, who said I wanted kids?
Will that change though? It could definitely. But what I do know is that I live on less than $30,000 per year right now, and I'm super happy with my life. I feel extremely fortunate, in fact, and $40,000 is a lot more money than what I'm currently living on, so I know that I could lead a life of happiness and fulfillment with that much money. But again, could that change too? Absolutely, absolutely. And also, of course, another important thing to keep in mind is 2 sources of income versus 1. By the time the house and kids and all that jazz comes into the picture, there's a good chance there will be 2 incomes which can help compensate for the added costs of terrible miniature humans who scream and poo. Now, throughout this video, I've used the term retire as that's kind of the easiest way I think to frame it for the purposes of this discussion, but when I'm talking about early retirement, I don't really mean in the traditional sense of the word per se. I'm more looking to achieve that early financial freedom. That's because I don't actually want to retire in the sense that I'll just sit in a rocking chair on my porch for the rest of my life. I want to retire from the compulsion of having to clock into a job to earn a paycheck in order to survive. I want to be fully self-reliant, fully self-sufficient so that I can take the time and space to create the exact type of work that I want to create. I always want to be contributing to society, I just want to be able to do it without the nagging compulsion of earning a paycheck. And so that is my plan to reach financial freedom and retire by 35 if I so choose. Will kids throw a wrench into my plans? Stay tuned and subscribe to find out.